Hello, assalamu alaikum everybody. Hope you're all safe, sound, and healthy. And I'm just wondering about. I'm wondering if anybody else has the same experience. I think most of us multilinguals have this problem that not only do we switch from language to language, from one to the other when speaking or thinking, but also it affects our accents. It does at a point because, especially if we have lived in countries that speak the same language but with different accents and different dialects. So when you're exposed, for example, to various accents, now the thing is that you can speak each and every accent perfectly and fluently when you're in that environment, especially. So, for example, if you are a native English speaker and you've lived in about 2 to 3 different English speaking countries, you find yourself speaking in all those dialects and all those accents again with perfection, but you kind of lose your own accent. It's like writing, I'm actually pretty good at writing as well as in forging different types of writing. Right from the start, I could always mimic and copy any writing pattern put in front of me. But as a result of that, I kind of lost my own writing style, you can say. So, although I guess I kind of regained it in the sense that when I write, people usually say that when I write, it seems like a very, very mature hand. And to me, I think sometimes it's almost unreadable. So, much more readable than doctors, but sometimes, yeah, especially nowadays when thanks to the constant usage of keyboards, I've kind of things that were so normal for me to do. That's another weird thing. Things that were so normal for me to do. Is it just me or is anybody else facing this? It's now very difficult. I had very steady, very stable hands, but now sometimes I feel they're not steady or stable anymore. I can't even pick a pen. It's as if I just don't know how to. It hurts. I can't even write properly now, so my writings are more and more of, these scribbles. Um, Applying nail polish. I mean, this is something I used to do without even thinking. And so smoothly, so automatically, I would do both hands with ease. It never even occurred to me that it could be a problem. But now, even doing one hand, sometimes it can be a bit difficult, a bit sloppy. It's just weird sometimes. I know that my arms get really, really tired when I try to do my hair, but then that's because my hair is really long and I really wish I could cut it off, but nobody lets me cut it off. And when you've got this Rapunzel length hair, I mean, figuratively speaking, then you really don't know what to do with it. There was a time when I used to enjoy styling it and doing stuff with it, and my arms never ached, but for almost a decade, even a little more, maybe my arms really ache and I just hate it. Nowadays, even brushing my hair is like a tedious job that I have to force myself to do. And I believe in thorough brushing really because you have to get right into it when you have really long hair. You have to just get every single strand of hair and get every single tangle out. So I don't know, things are becoming more and more very simple everyday stuff. I've always had 2020 vision, but recently, thanks to the light issues, the extra low voltages in Pakistan and the sudden high voltages and the unstable currents, it's I've been exposed to bad lighting for so long. I think it's finally affected me because I cannot even put a thread in a needle, believe it or not. This is something I just used to do, and I think it's also to do with working so much on your laptop. Yeah, I'm sure that has a huge factor playing into it as well, because all our work is now, based on using mobiles and laptops, and it really affects our eyesight at one point, whether we like to acknowledge it or not, and it affects our fingers. I don't know if carpal tunnel is the only problem here, because literally it's as if I've got arthritis on my fingers. It can be very hard sometimes. As I said, I can't even hold a pen or a pencil now properly. It's like I can't even sign my name, to be honest. So yeah, back to languages. Yeah, I've I can speak uh, pure British, and then I can speak colonial, and then I can speak pure American, and then there's the Pakistani English, which is basically neutral English. It has no real accent, unlike Indian English, which is very heavily accented. Generally, Pakistan, especially if you speak to people from the areas of Punjab and the northern areas, the English is very neutral. So, and the new generation, their English is more Americanized, accent wise, and generally. So, there's that, but it's weird. It's really weird. When I am in Britain, I speak pure British. When I am conversing with American friends, I speak pure American. And then when I am uh, here on my podcast, you must have noticed I tend to mix it all up. Sometimes you'll hear the inflections of colonial English, sometimes of British English, and sometimes American, and it's just weird. It's just a weird hodgepodge, but I think it really comes with the territory. And also, as I said, because when you're constantly switching from language to language, and each language has its own particular accent. For example, Urdu generally is a neutralized language, as in you don't have an accent. I think that is why Pakistanis, when they speak English, they have a neutralized accent, because Urdu in itself is a very neutralized language accent wise. Obviously, there are dialects, so like when you go to Karachi, and that is why the people of Karachi, even when they speak English, you find that hint, that inflection, that accent, because the way they speak Urdu is also with an accent. But normally, Urdu in itself has a neutral accent. But then when you hop from Urdu to Punjabi, Punjabi has its own particular way, its own particular dialect and accent. And then if you hop to, for example, if you're from KPK and you hop to Pashto, and then that's a completely different way of speaking. If you go to Hindko, it's a completely different accent. It's a very sweet, soft, almost sing-song. Actually, the sing-song accent is more Saraiki. Now, Saraiki is very, very close to Punjabi. You could call it the cousin of Punjabi. So people from Punjab can actually understand a bit of what anybody is speaking in Saraiki, but it's actually a completely different language. It's like Creole. When you speak French, you know French, and then you listen to Creole, and you're like, hang on, I know some of these words, but I don't know what this person's saying really. But sometimes I do know what this person's saying. So it's just like that. So the difference between French and Creole is basically the same as in between Punjabi and Saraiki. Then there's Kashmiri. The Kashmiri language is completely different. So I mean, each language, because you remember Pakistan, India, and not Bangladesh, but Pakistan and India, these are countries of multi ethnicities, you can say. So these are multi ethnic countries. That's why we were referred to as the subcontinent. We're like a continent within a continent, because of all the different races, all the different castes, all the different ethnicities. So even today in India and Pakistan, you find that. So that is why, for example, if you go way up north and you go to Naran Kagan, and if you go to Kailash, completely different culture, completely different race in Kailash, and completely different, ethnicity, whatever you like to call it, even different religions. So, there is that. So I think it kind of affects. At one point, it will affect you. For a long time, actually, it never really affected me. I could balance each and every language perfectly on its own, both dialect wise, accent wise, and as well as, not letting one language supersede the other. But I guess I don't know. It's again, as basically maybe because I don't talk too much nowadays, except when I'm teaching or when I'm working with something to do with languages or when I'm writing. So, whenever you kind of don't practice so much, then I think that's when these things start getting more prominent. They have this, way of seeping into your conversations when you do start talking. Although to be fair, when I do talk with people, I actually still maintain that that when I speak in Urdu, it will be in Urdu unless I shift to English, and if I shift to English, it will be completely in English. So I do not mix words within sentences. That is something that I have still maintained. When I speak a sentence, I try to speak it completely in that language. In fact, I don't really need to try so much. It is, thankfully, that is how it is. When I speak in a particular language, I speak in that particular language completely. And when I switch to another language, then I switch to that language and complete a whole sentence in that language without breaking into a third language. But but when you're thinking, it's different, because when you're thinking, it's just fluid, and then you just transition from language to language to language to language, and dialect to accent to dialect to accent. It's weird. And obviously, when I'm podcasting, then seriously, all the different variations of English that I am a native speaker of and that I am native to. One At one point you will see them all just, sort of mixy matchy mixy. Yeah, I also actually utilized that in my the Mist series. And the Mist series, I kind of did that, and I noticed that it actually worked uh, to the benefit and to my favor as well, because over there too, I was basically juggling from character to character, Pakistani-based character, a character that is based internationally or in foreign countries, a character that is completely American, a character that is now, exposed to Europe or Britain. So you know how they change their dialects and their conversations, and keeping in mind the region that they're currently residing in. So you can see that uh, obvious shift of accent or the type of English that is spoken between the American characters and the non-American characters, or the British characters and the non-British characters. So that was kind of fun. That is why, I've mentioned it in the summary or the pitch, that the or the storyline, you can say, about the book, that it is written in at least three different dialects, or three different, kinds of English. So that is what I mean. The narrative continues in the main dialect, with a few shifts here and there. But the characters, that is where you mainly concentrate on the shift in, so you have the American English, and then the British English, and then the, colonial English, and then, and so it shifts from person to person the way they speak. So that was very much to an advantage. And I think the readers would enjoy that, especially readers who have been exposed to all the various English dialects as well, and the modern generation, as well as in our generation and the generation after us, who are more exposed to universality, the universal factor, when it comes to understanding different ways of communication used in all the different countries. So yeah, so I was wondering if anybody is going through the same thing, where they find themselves, that they no longer have a set accent anymore, because they have lived for too long in different countries that speak the same language in different dialects and in different accents, that you end up having a sort of a mix. And it's kind of, I think it's kind of normal, because I remember there's a friend of mine, a very close friend of mine, and he had a slightly strange Urdu accent. So basically, he had very good Urdu, but every now and then you would feel that slight inflection here and there. And he himself acknowledged it, because he used to say that, I have a true Pakistani accent, which meant that because his father was, I think, in the army, was it? I forgot. So, he moved a lot from one city to another all over Pakistan. So he used to say that I've got the Pakistani accent. So I've got the accents of all the places and all the regions and all the cities of Pakistan that have, merged into this one way in which I speak Urdu. And I understood him perfectly, because, I had the same thing, happening with me with my English, where if I'm speaking generally, then I've got this mixed accent where it's all over. I mean, from all over the different regions, and then. But when I'm speaking, as I said, when I'm in Britain, then I speak British, pure British, and when I'm with Americans, then I speak pure American, and then when I'm with Pakistanis, then I speak your neutral Pakistani accent. So yeah, tell me if any of you've faced that or are facing that, and and if maybe some of you are actually facing one language accent sort of dominating your native language. For example, at some points, for example, when you speak French, it's a completely different accent, isn't it? And a different way of pronouncing things, and enunciations are different as well. And it's very closer to Asian languages or Persian and other languages. So it's easy for us, I guess, to sort of, grasp it. But for the English speaking countries, it's difficult, isn't it? And but if you actually are very good with accents and with languages, and then you're speaking one language that has a completely unique accent, and then you shift to your own native tongue, has it ever happened that you would find yourself speaking in that accent, in that foreign accent, all of a sudden, and you're like, hang on, I'm a native English speaker, what's going on here? Yeah, do tell me about it. I will be, as always, I will be generating this into a listenable video for YouTube, and then you can just jot it down in the comment section. Tell me what you're thinking. So this is me signing out, and I hope you all have a lovely, lovely weekend. Khuda Hafiz.